Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
He's in the building!
Drink the moment. Drink it.
I said, empty your mind.
Coquettish and coy. Ow. Ow.
What?
And there's people that are dying.
The wickedly talented.
More than great. It was historic.
Crack is
World.
Oh, good for you.
I have to apologize.
One of the hottest. Hello, and welcome back to The Reheat, a podcast that re-examines the spiciest celebrity news and scandals of yesteryear and asks how would we react to the same events if they transpired today. You know the drill. I'm your host, Sadaf, but today, something different. My usual co-host, Sarah Sahagian, is away on vacation. We're very happy for her. She could use the break, but I'm joined by my fabulous friend, Laura Hensley, who pens the hilarious newsletter, That's My Opinion, which you're supposed to yell. So imagine me yelling it into your ears right now. Now, if you don't know that newsletter, if you don't know that line, it's all about the Real Housewives, which is exactly what we are digging into today. Welcome, Laura.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here and talk Housewives. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first podcast, and I could not imagine a better topic to do this about, or do this on, I should say.
I know, you're going to be a natural, I think, because we talk about this all the time anyway. It's our sickness, I always say, but we're obsessed.
It's a true sickness.
Yeah.
It's a
my
sickness.
God, it's a disease, which I'm sure a lot of you listening have too, thank God, because we're about to get really deep into it. I'm so glad to have you. You're an expert on Real Housewives, yes?
You know, officially, yes. I have not been, studying reality TV in my undergrad, but I have a journalism background. I work as a journalist. I did a lot of pop culture reporting when I was at different magazines. So Real Housewives is my jam, and I love getting excited about it. And my newsletter that you mentioned off the top, That's My Opinion, is all about the Real Housewives. So in that sense, I think I am an expert.
You are. I think reality TV experts are self-proclaimed, which we have done many times.
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, before we dig into this delicious topic, I want to share that Laura and I have also joined forces to create a special reality TV event series based in Toronto. Our inaugural event is on March 4th. It'll take place at the historic Second City, so you know it'll be bougie. It'll feature a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills rewatch. We're doing Dinner Party from Hell, guys. That's the one. We're going to have contests. There's going to be trivia, lots of great prizes. And P.S. all tickets include a free drink too. Whether you want alcoholic, you want soda, whatever you want, we got you. Now, if you want to buy a ticket and join us, we would love that, of course. But also, you can find a link right now in the show notes below where you can enter a special contest just for Reheat listeners to win 2 free tickets to come join us. Bring a friend, bring anybody, bring the boyfriend, whoever you want. We'll welcome you. It'll be fun. And you can come meet me. You can come meet Laura. Sarah will be there too. So that'll be exciting.
That is right, Sadaf. I am actually so excited for this event. We're actually making this happen. It's all happening, as Sheena Shea would say. Of course, we want people to buy tickets, but we also want people to enter this contest. So if you listeners would like to enter this contest, we've set up a special Google form, which is also linked in the show notes. And all you have to do is share your name, email, and a special code word that Sadaf is going to share at some point in this episode. So you have to listen very carefully because you need that code word.
Trust me, you're not going to miss it once we blurt it out. It's impossible to miss. You'll know it already, honestly, if you're a Real Housewives sicko like us. Okay, with that, let's get into this episode. Let's get into Real Housewives. This is a subject I've been wanting to do forever on the show. Sarah's not the biggest fan, so I had to bring in the biggest fan that I knew. Yeah. If you've ever watched a woman throw a table, accuse her castmate of committing wire fraud, scream about sprinkled cookies, or get physically restrained by security at a reunion, then congratulations. You already understand the power of the Real Housewives. So yeah, today we're talking about the whole franchise, all the cities, but as a cultural force, like for good, for bad, for ugly, not just as reality TV, not just as guilty pleasure viewing, but as one of the most influential and revealing media franchises of the past 2 decades. Dare I say, okay, Laura, tell me how you first got into the Housewives. Which franchise was it? Was there a housewife that hooked you? Mention it all.
And my entry into this crazy world was with the Real Housewives of Orange County, which is the OG show that kicked everything off. So it only feels appropriate that that was my gateway drug into the Real Housewives world. But I actually started watching it a little bit later than it aired. So I started watching it just after I think I graduated university. And I fell in love with Vicky. Like, she is horrible, but she's also amazing. And one of my favorite scenes to this day is when she freaks out about the family van. After that, I was like, I am obsessed. I love the skytops. I love the California mansions. I love the drama. So from there, I started dabbling in all the other housewives. I got into Beverly Hills and then New York. And now I basically watch whatever is on my TV, and I'll watch basically anything on Bravo now too.
I think I'm the exact same. I was trying to think back. I think it was OC because it was the first one I remember. And I remember thinking like, this is a weird Desperate Housewives kind of thing, which we will get back to. There's a reason for that. But yeah, I remember like the bad tans. Everybody was like bleached, nasty bleach blonde. Like everyone was kind of horrible, but also I could not stop watching. I remember Vicky so well. And now I'm so sick of her, mind you. I loved her in the beginning though. I remember Gina Keogh. Do you remember Gina Keogh?
Oh, I loved
her.
Yeah, she was like, oh, I kind of want her
I do
back too. I don't know. We can get into it later, but there's some oldies that I think need to get back, like on our screens.
Oh my God,
ASAP.
that's a good thing we should dig into. But like, yeah, I think she was my first favorite, which is wild thinking back now. Vicky was interesting because she sold real estate, right? Or she was in insurance. And
Insurance.
she
Kodo Insurance. Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, okay, so they actually have jobs. And we had just gone through the whole, what was it? Laguna Beach world. And I was kind of like wanting more of that. And this kind of gave you that, but obviously a way more grown-up version, but like in the exact same place. It was so good. It was so good. There was nothing like it. Okay, so I feel like we should get into a little bit of history. Let's set this up. So yeah, OC, first one, that kicked off way back in 2006, which is wild. So we're marking 20 years, guys. That's wild.
That's depressing.
It is depressing. Everybody's like waxing poetic about 2016, and I'm like, whoa, that makes me feel very old. And yeah, 2006 is a long time. Now, yeah, it's a Bravo property. It was made by exec Lauren Zalaznick and developed by Scott Dunlop. And super fans may not even know this, but like I was kind of hinting at before, the show was originally meant to be kind of like a docu-soap about affluent suburban women. And it was loosely inspired by scripted shows like Desperate Housewives, yes, and The OC, but they were also inspired by Laguna Beach. Like they wanted a mix of all that. I feel like they succeeded, but it's funny to think that it was meant to be like a docu-soap and then it turned into a shit show reality TV empire. But anyway, the idea was to show what it looked like behind the gates of wealthy communities. So the pressures of marriage, the expectations on women, the anxiety of maintaining a so-called perfect image was supposed to be observational, not so explosive, but obviously it turned out wildly chaotic. Needless to say, Bravo kind of picked up on all of this and noticed what we were seeing. They felt like the women were larger than life. And I do think like so much of the gold here is the casting, right? Like they picked incredible women. Like even if they're messes, they were amazing to watch. They were witty, they were opinionated, status conscious in like a way that I think a lot of us can relate to, but also off the deep end, I think. Deeply aware of the social hierarchies they were operating within. Conflict wasn't something that had to be manufactured. It was already there, but it felt like it was waiting to implode. It feels like it's still all these years later. Once Bravo leaned into that tension, the franchise exploded. So now here's just some of the cities we have. We've got New York, Atlanta, New Jersey, Beverly Hills. There's so many. They all bring a different version of wealth, power, and definitely sisterhood, I think, for better or worse. Laura, what do you think the franchise is really about? Because, like, yeah, wealth is an element, and I know that's how it kicked off, but I feel like there's so many other parts to it too, right?
Honestly, Sadaf, I was thinking a lot about this because people always ask me why I love The Real Housewives so much and like, what is it actually about besides just women fighting? And I honestly, which is part of it, but I think at its core, it's actually about women who are often middle-aged, rediscovering themselves, you know? So how often do women in their 40s or 50s get an opportunity to talk about their lives and find fame or success or a platform on reality TV where like they are the center of the universe, right? So I really like it because because women typically are portrayed as just being mothers, wives, caregivers, and these women typically are those things. But the Real Housewives allows them to show like different aspects of themselves that I find fascinating, like their passions, their businesses, their ambitions. And of course, there is the drama, but I think if you're a longtime watcher like we are, you will have noticed how so many of these women have evolved so much since we first met them to who they are today. And so it's kind of a show about in my opinion, self-discovery, growth as a woman, transformation. And maybe I'm like sounding a little kooky here, but I think a lot of them just realize at some point, and we see it, they don't just want to be housewives. Their husbands might actually kind of be assholes. Their kids are out of the house now. They have value to the world. And so I really love that. It's a show that gives these women a platform and they kind of change and evolve and become these people that they didn't start as. And that to me at the core is what makes this show so fascinating.
Oh my God, what a screed. Thank you. Oh, I love that because I mean, listen, here's the thing. Like we talk about this on The Reheat all the time. Like sometimes these subjects seem kind of trivial and like superficial, but there's always a deeper meaning. There's a reason we consume this particularly. I mean, 20 years on, come on now. So many franchises, so many spin-offs we've all been watching for so long. It's a lot of people. It's a big crew out there. Fans recognize fans. Like you got to say two words and we all know that we're one. we know. So there's a reason for that. So I love that you point all that out. I do think there's so much more to it. And I want your opinion on this. I think part of the reason it works so well is the format, right? Like
for sure.
There's so many reality shows we've had, but they're not quite built as beautifully as these. I really think so. So we've got the confessionals, we've got the taglines, we've got behind the scenes moments, even wall breaking moments, which we've had in more recent seasons. Now, if you're not familiar, one of the best elements is the end of season reunions, which really every show should have. Now, what happens there is the cast get together to bury many a hatchet, sort out endless conflicts, and make amends, hypothetically. It's usually a ton more fighting and screaming, which is why it feels like a courtroom drama meets therapy session. It's usually headed up by Bravo exec Andy Cohen. He's the face of the franchise, really, and you probably heard about him a lot. He's been involved in a lot of the early development of these shows, not so much lately, but he's the reunion host, so we all know him pretty well. Now, apart from that, each episode follows them throughout their lives. So we see them go on dinners, they go on cast trips, which is the juiciest. They go to ridiculous charity events. Sorry for saying ridiculous. What was the one we saw recently? You know the one I'm thinking of. Homeless,
there was the toothless, not homeless, which Kathy Hilton kept getting confused. And she's like, is it for the homeless or the toothless or the toothless or the homeless? And I've worked with both. And I'm just like, and the thing is, she's serious.
She's a character, but also God bless that imitation. Please bring that back. That was really good.
Thank you. I could bring it to the event if you guys want to see it in real life.
On her impressions, guys. Okay, yes, please. Totally. And I feel like the show also kind of thrives on the imbalance, right? So these days, especially more recent seasons, we get to see so many differences and disparities in wealth, which is pretty funny. Also fame, also age, race, which we'll get into a little bit more in a bit, and then social capital. So many differences in those kinds of ways that mark class, I would say. And the confessionals are fun too because they let the women narrate their own reality and they usually end up contradicting themselves a lot. And there is a lot of clip playback, okay, which will catch them as the liars that they are. I feel like through the whole thing, these women are still performing, right? Like it's reality TV, but these are stars. They know, and this is the big catch, right, that they need to have interesting narratives just to get another season and just to be have fans, like be talked about, be buzzy on social. So the pressure is on. Like you kind of have to bring the chaos. That's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of bitchery. So, Lauren, tell me, what is your favorite element? And more than anything, I want to know your favorite tagline.
Okay, well, tagline's very hard, but I did come up with one that I will share with you. You basically outlined so many elements that make the show so successful. But I think for me, when I think back about some of the most iconic scenes, the most iconic fights, lines, it comes back to cast trips. I feel like cast trips are always these like perfect pressure cookers where the women are in close quarters for prolonged periods of time. They're removed from the comforts of home, their family, their friends outside of the show. And so they're forced to spend so much time with each other. And this is where the fights go bonkers. And I love it. Like, you know, they just get so heated. But I also feel like cast trips bring out a lot of heartfelt moments. Like when you see the women bonding, maybe they're getting dressed together, they're sharing accessories, clothes, they're taking care of each other. They're, in these more intimate, sensitive moments that aren't as exciting. So I feel like cast trips kind of bring all of these elements together. But when you asked me, sorry, about taglines, I think, okay, I feel like there's so many good ones, but one of my all-time favorites is Ramona Singer from season 9. And this to me is like the epitome of a housewife tagline. And this was hers during this time. I'm an acquired taste. You don't like me? Acquire some taste. And it's just like, that's so Ramona. You know what I mean? Like, you can't capture her essence any better than that.
You can't. And I got to tell you, and this is why we're friends, I'm looking at my notes. We got the same one. I picked the exact same
one.
Was
that your tagline too? I didn't even ask you. What is yours?
So yeah, I love the Ramona one. That's my number one. But just in case, I added a couple, and I know you're going to love these. So Ramona, iconic New York housewife. And then I've got Lisa Vanderpump, who I feel like we got to give a shout out to in this episode, right? She's had a few, but my favorite of hers is, I'm passionate about dogs, just not crazy about bitches. Like,
that is also that's a good one too. That is like, it's good without trying too hard, because sometimes they try too hard and that one just works.
I know. Okay, let me hit you with another one. Okay, so we've got Nene, iconic Atlanta housewife. I don't keep up with the Joneses. I am the Joneses.
Again, that embodies Nene. You know what I mean? Like, a good tagline is like when it actually succinctly captures the essence of a person. And like, those are perfect examples.
Thank you. I think so. That perfectly sums it up. Now, I want to add one thing, though, to your shout out about the cast trips, because we just watched Real Housewives of Potomac. They just had an incredible cast trip. And I think this speaks to your point about why they're so good. They had one housewife who usually leads the cast trip, right? And she took the ladies to Colorado, where she has a home and she has an adventure company. And Colorado, not the most exciting and bougie cast trip. It doesn't matter. And this showed you why. She fucked up this trip in many, many ways. She got them lost for hours at a time. She had them in a house an hour away from her own home where she chose to stay. And in that house, the water wasn't running. She barely joined them for anything. The women were split. And I think what we learned is, yeah, just get them, like you said, in a isolated location. Doesn't matter where we take them. It could be hell. And they will make it so entertaining. Even if they get lost for hours. I have not been that entertained in a long time.
Oh, poor Angel. You're talking about Angel, the newest housewife. And like, Angel is a devil in all their books, because she has had the worst planning, and she owns like an adventure company business. And she was trying to take them to Colorado, where she was based before she moved, Potomac, sorry, to sort of acquaint them and obviously get press for her business. And it like totally backfired, because to your point, it was chaos. Giselle went nuts, brought him to the Four Seasons. They like end up eating roadside pizza, fighting. It's just like, you can't even script stuff that good, it just happens so naturally.
It was perfect. There was even a moment where the camera just scanned to roadkill out there. Like, that's another thing, right? Because the editors are so good in Bravo World. Oh my God, like, they're a part of the whole thing. They make it so funny. But yeah, cast trips forever. And let me give another shout out to Angel, who is being criticized as one of the worst housewives of all time. Like you said, she's new. It's her first season. I actually think she should come back, because she's creating such a mess. I knew you'd agree.
Same. You know what, Angel, like, first season housewives often have a hard time, right? And I think that a lot of the women see them as easy targets, and Angel is definitely getting bullied. She's definitely getting dragged through the mud, but she's still showing up. She's still putting on a brave face. And I think second season around, she'll be smarter and wiser, and she won't take the BS. And I would love to see like her just come back with a bit more strength. Then, like Stacey says, still I rise, Angel will come back.
Another great housewife in line. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Okay, this feels like a good time to take a quick little break. But first, if you've been listening, here is a special secret code you all want to enter to win those 2 special tickets to our Real Housewives event show, Sprinkle Cookies. I repeat, the code is Sprinkle Cookies. Go do your spell check. Get that exactly right. You can't mess it up. Take this break. Click the link in the show notes. Get your free tickets, guys. We will be right back. And we're back. Okay, one of my favorite things about Real Housewives is that people who have never watched a single episode will definitely recognize its most iconic moments. And there are so many. Okay, let me list a few. I mentioned a few off the top, but let me give some names to some of these too. So there's Teresa Giudice flipping a table on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Nene Leakes, who we also mentioned many one-liners on Real Housewives of Atlanta, Scary Island on New York, which was a cast trip that needs to be seen to be understood. I don't even know if I can cap it in a line. A prosthetic leg thrown into the middle of the floor to end a conversation. Laura, do you have an all-time Real Housewives moment?
I don't even know how to defend my obsession with Real Housewives after you just it's so cuckoo and insane and amazing. But yeah, the Aviva throwing the leg was probably a highlight. Honestly, one of my favorite scenes ever is from the dinner party from hell of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which we will be talking about at our event, which is another reason why everyone needs to come out. But essentially, this is a dinner party at Camille Grammer's house, and it goes so bad. She brings her friend who is a medium who has an electric cigarette and gets wildly drunk and just goes off the rockers and tells Kyle of her husband, who she's obsessed with at this point, Mauricio, she says that he will never emotionally fulfill her. And it was delivered in such a cruel and cunning way. And it was so unexpected. And this is like a girl's dinner. Kyle obviously was so upset. She didn't want to hear it. And then a huge fight ensued. And the best part is, all these years later, not the best part, the ironic part is, Kyle and Mauricio have split. And so this crazy medium and her electric cigarette was right, I should say. So that to me is like one of the craziest moments that has carried through years of Housewives lore. Another one that comes to mind, and you'll appreciate this one because I know you'll love the Dorinda call out, but I love when Dorinda goes nuts on the women when they're fighting at Bluestone Manor because they were not appreciating her efforts. They were just like being chaotic. And this is when her iconic, I cooked, I cleaned, I made it nice, was like yelled at these women, which has been turned into a meme and just continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. And if I can share one more moment, because you got me so excited about all of these iconic times, you probably will also love this one. I love, love, love when Luann and the Real Housewives of New York ladies are on vacation in St. Bart's, cheats on her then boyfriend, Jax, this Frenchman, Jax, and she hooks up with this like Johnny Depp lookalike who's dressed as a pirate, unclear. Anyways, she clearly brings him back to the villa and then the next day, she's caught in a hot mic moment speaking French, which apparently she thinks no one else in the world understands, talking to her friends, begging them to cover for her and confirm her story that she did not bring the pirate back. She had. Even to this day, Luann still denies that she hooked up with a pirate Johnny Depp, and I just love it. It's just classic chaotic housewives behavior.
Oh my God. I think you capped off, honestly, like all my favorites, because absolutely to all of those. And they really capture these women in the best and worst ways. I think, yes, Dorinda and what has come to be called Berserkshires episodes, because she takes a lot of the women on a trip around the holidays to her Bluestone Manor in the Berkshires. And all of those holiday episodes are just incredible. She is one of my favorite housewives of all time, if not the. She's just so great. And yeah, that Kyle prediction is something, huh? Like 20 years on. I mean, I guess maybe more 15 years after that episode, but like, see, there's prophets among us, and a lot of them live on Bravo.
100%. And I think in a recent episode of this current season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Kyle even mentioned this dinner party from hell, and they did a flashback. And so it's just, I don't know, again, to the earlier point of like following these women and watching them evolve, to see Kyle so upset that this medium, this drunk medium was saying all these offensive things about her relationship. And then all these years later, she's kind of laughing about it. And she's like, it's really just a gift that keeps on giving.
No, it really is. We got to reach out to the medium and get her statement.
Yes, we do. Alison
Alison
Dubois.
Dubois.
I think that's her name. Is that
Well,
her
that's
name?
the other thing.
Okay.
She had one moment in this show and we remember it all these years later. Incredible. Okay, now some Real Housewives have become more than cast members, okay? Clearly, from all we've said, you can pick up on this, but they become cultural figures. I mentioned Nene a couple times. She's arguably the most significant breakout star, I think, that the franchise has ever produced. Her influence stretches far beyond Bravo. She's done a bit of acting. She's been around. She's shaped internet language, GIF culture, if I may, and reality TV as a whole. Now, arguably, my favorite housewife of all time is Bethany Frankel. I
Really?
know.
Okay, defend yourself.
I can't. That's the thing. Now, she turned her time on New York because she kicked off Real Housewives of New York. She was kind of great. Like, you could really champion her because she was one of the ones who was not as wealthy quite yet. She was building a food brand. And then by the end of her time on the show, she'd built basically a lifestyle brand. She was also doing a good bit of activism. Like, she was all over, but she also turned into a bit of a nutcase. I say respectfully. She kind of went out the deep end and she's been off the show for a few years, but now she's on TikTok talking about accosting people at like a Target and like she'll eat seafood live and she just comes off really barbaric in some ways. I don't want to be judgmental, but listen, she's not the woman she was. She's turned into not a very nice person. So I can't defend it now, but here's my thing, and we always talk about this, you and I, that it's not so much about being a good person. It's about being an entertaining person.
100%. Yes. These are not role models.
No, God, no. So that's why I say she's my favorite, like in terms of Hall of Fame. But I would say these days, it's definitely Dorinda's taken her place. And I miss Dorinda. She's allegedly on pause because she also got a little too wild.
She did sort of lean into the drinking a little too heavily on television. But, that's neither here nor there.
Although we will touch on the alcoholism of it all.
We will. It can be a problem. Yes.
Okay, so then there's also Teresa, who we also mentioned. She's infamous for her family drama and incarceration, which we'll also come back to. We've got Lisa Vanderpump, who used the show to position herself as very much like a behind-the-scenes power player. She kind of helped, but I think she just got her name stamped on an entirely new franchise, which was, as many of you know, Vanderpump Rules, and then more recently, The Valley. We love them. These women seem to have understood that Housewives is not just a show, right? It's a launch pad, and they have known how to wield it. Now, Laura, you know what I'm going to ask. Who is your top gal? Can you pick one?
You've just named a lot of iconic women. Again, not my role models, but iconic women who I admire for their entertainment. But when you were talking about a launch pad, this kind of is almost like a sad example of not always figuring out how to launch. But one of my favorite housewives is Sonia Morgan from the Real Housewives of New York. And I love Sonia because I feel like she contains multitudes. Like, she's so over the top and ridiculous and says hilarious things and will like break a tooth randomly and just like hold it. But you can also tell that she's super sensitive and actually really is a bit more of an introvert and needs to sort of have some alone time. I also think she's actually a bit insecure, and it's a fascinating, she has so many contradictions. I also feel like she had a bit of a Grey Garden situation with her iconic Manhattan townhouse, which is honestly a character in its own right on The Real Housewives of New York, because she existed in this space where she was married to a really rich, powerful man, a member of the Morgan family. But then when she got divorced, she kind of fell on hard times and she didn't really seem to be able to find business success on her own. So she was constantly getting into these bad financial decisions and trying to make things work. She had her toaster oven, her clothing line, like all of these things. And to me, she kind of represents so many women post-divorce, especially ones who had relied on their husband to be financially secure. She sort of lives partially in the past while kind of being forced to face a new future in reality. And to me, I know maybe I'm going too deep on Housewives, but I kind of find that fascinating. Like, she's so entertaining. And every show she's done with Luann, like Crappy Lake and Cabaret guest appearances, I love her. She's hilarious. She delivers iconic moments. I love that she loves unpaid interns. I think we should pay the interns. Obviously, I'm not for unpaid labor, but like that has also become a bit of her shtick. And one housewife that I like, again, I'm not saying these people are perfect, but I also, I might be in the minority here, but I really actually like Karen Huger. I don't know what it is. Like, her recent DUI, don't approve of that. That's bad behavior. Let the record show. I'm not endorsing that. But I actually think Karen has a really good heart, and you can tell that she's a great mom. She values her friendships. She takes her role as a grand dame very seriously, and she has this kind of endearing motherly quality to her that I think really balances some of the chaos on the cast. So she's another one that I'm like, I love her. I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I love both. Karen is, wow, multifaceted. I think she tends to split people a lot, but I also love her. She's definitely an HBIC, right? Like she walks in the room. That's the woman I'm looking at. Sonia, I will love forever. I love the sympathetic deep read that you just gave us on her because I too I find her so endearing and I can never forget her and I miss her so much. Because yeah, she's like a big party girl. She kind of gotten written off by a lot of the women on New York as being very superficial and kind of an idiot. And I don't think she's an idiot at all. I think she was just a sweet person doing her best and doing it all on camera, which I cannot imagine is easy and having a lot of people judge you, but I love her so much and I miss her. I miss our OG New York cast, man.
100%. Honestly, I feel like that OG cast, especially the early days, just gave us some of the best reality TV. And the New Yorkers had also an attitude where they didn't really seem to give a shit what they were saying, what they were doing. Pre-social media, they were not filtering themselves for better or for worse. You got this sort of like raw, unfiltered version of what it's like to be a rich woman in New York. And honestly, that's what made some of those early episodes so iconic.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like because I just did my millionth rewatch, I feel like we get even like a good 10 seasons, which is wild. And I still feel like it's not enough. Like I
Never
still
enough.
want so much more. Shout out if you are listening to this and you haven't watched Real Housewives yet. I feel like that's a great one to kick off with. Do New York, but maybe stop after the 10th or 11th season.
Don't even watch the rebooted cast. I'm not a fan.
No, we're not fans. We're not fans. Okay. Moving on a little bit. We're getting into the hard stuff because we can't talk about Real Housewives without touching on the criticism, sadly, because there's a ton of it. So much of it is valid, if not all. And trust me, we Bravo fans are well aware. It's not an easy fandom to be a part of. One of the most persistent concerns involves alcohol. Laura mentioned it earlier, but cast members are frequently encouraged to drink in high-pressure environments. We even had a cast member of New York try to sue the network recently about this. This is often while they're dealing with unresolved trauma, addiction, mental health struggles. So much is happening. And let's be real, the resulting emotional breakdowns are not treated as warning signs. It's more like content. Like, I know I've watched this and the producers have watched these moments and we're all kind of enjoying it because it's fun to watch, but it's also terrible at the same time because we do care about these women, believe it or not. We don't want them to burn out in that kind of way, but it's also the same way we've treated celebrities from the beginning of time. Like there's a part of us that does enjoy their come down. I hate to say it, but we've had sobriety storylines, and when they appear, they often comes years after destructive behavior that was also rewarded with screen time. So it's kind of like this double-edged sword. Then there's the issue of consumption. So we're not just talking alcohol, but housewives present wealth as a moral virtue, I'd say, and luxury is empowerment. And sure, in some spaces, this is definitely true. Like the pricier the bag, the bigger the designer, the more thrilling it is. I know for a lot of people who watch, that's the big reason. I cannot forget brief housewife Dana Wilkie, who bragged about her $25,000 sunglasses and became an instant meme. Like that is bonkers to me.
Were they actually $25,000? That's what I want to know. Who spends that type of money on sunglasses? I think she was lying, but I loved it. It was iconic. It was iconic behavior.
It was iconic. She's remembered for that moment alone.
She is.
Currently on Beverly Hills, we haven't talked about this, but we've got cast member Amanda Francis, who calls herself the money queen because she wrote a book on getting rich. She's rarely seen without multiple labels and not bragging about how wealthy she is. And to be honest, a lot of these women will wear labels as loud as they possibly can. Like, I have never seen so many Chanel earrings with the CHA on one ear and the NEL on the other.
I feel like I'm back on Canal Street in like 2008. You know what I mean? Like the labels are everywhere and they're probably not real, but I'm still going to look at them.
I love that. Yeah. I feel like the show, it shows us a lot of this, but it doesn't actually interrogate what the meaning is behind it, right? But I guess that's kind of our job as the viewer. Then here's the big one. And I know a lot of people have struggled with this, but there's the feminism question. And I'm going to give a shout out to Gloria Steinem. which I rarely do on the reheat. In 2013, she called out the series and said, quote, "It's women all dressed up and inflated and plastic surgeried and false bosomed, an incredible amount of money spent not getting along with each other, fighting with each other. It is a minstrel show for women." I love that quote because she's not totally wrong, right? The franchise does feel regressive in so many ways. Women are presented as catty and competitive. And if you're a peacemaker and you're not really a part of all that, you're usually too boring and you don't get your contract renewed. But what fascinates me is that the vast majority of these women have daughters, kind of exclusively, which is wild. And they're all incredible women. They're well educated, they're smart, they're successful, they have great careers, they're well spoken. I want to know from you, Laura, how do we think that coexists? Because that's really fascinating to me. And also, how the hell do we rationalize this as feminists?
Honestly, Sadaf, I feel like this is a question that will never have a perfect answer. It's so hard and it's so nuanced. And I think if we talk about feminism, for example, and whether or not this is a feminist franchise, well, first of all, I just want to say, I think if this was a sports show or a show that catered towards straight men or centered around straight men, we would probably not be having this debate. We might be talking about something different, but I'm honestly not sure. For me, I kind of feel like women have to constantly defend their pop culture interests as they're often deemed as trash or anti-feminist or mindless. And I grew up watching wrestling, and you cannot tell me that wrestling is like more educational than Housewives, okay? But like you said, makes a point about women fighting. And I wanted to talk about that because I feel like that point in particular is almost feeding into the idea that women showing extreme emotion is unladylike or uncouth, whereas, when men fighting is often seen as a sign of strength and sometimes almost necessary for like a conflict resolution or like defending their honor. And so I do feel like it's a double standard. Again, I'm not saying there's not problematic elements of the Housewives. There 100% is, but I think we need to take a step back sometimes and look at it in larger society and like why we're having these sorts of criticisms. But importantly, I think we need to let the record show that feminist Roxane Gay has defended the Real Housewives, okay? And she said the franchise allows women, quote, to be their truest selves. And I mean, I love that she's a Housewives fan, but I agree with her on that point because I do think, like I said earlier, that these women, they contain multitude. So plenty of them come onto the show already being successful. We've seen lawyers, doctors, actors, professors. A lot of them have these great careers. And the ones that don't, a lot of them become very business savvy, even if they didn't start off that way. So they'll use their platforms to make their own money, create their own careers, empower themselves. And to me, that is an act of feminism, like redefining yourself and using your pop culture relevance to become powerful. And lastly, like as I said earlier, these women often evolve. And that's one of the favorite aspects of watching for me, like their personal evolutions show strength because so many of them have to overcome death, divorce, illness, we've seen abuse. We've seen these really heavy topics on these shows. And you see the strength in these women and the power of their friendships and this power within to persevere. And honestly, lastly, I feel like this show is so successful and has contributed to pop culture in so many ways that it's very easy to dismiss it as being silly or frivolous or call it anti-feminist. But it's a huge success and it's successful because of women. I hear where she's coming from and I completely accept the criticisms, but I feel like there has to be some balance and nuance in that conversation.
Preach, Laura Hensley.
I know. Did I convert you, Sadaf? What do you think? Do you think this is a feminist show, an anti-feminist show?
I completely agree with you. And I was so glad you brought Roxane into it because Roxane Gay is a feminist who I align with a lot more than Gloria Steinem, who obviously is also has incredible merits, but controversial at times. Roxane, I tend to agree with a lot more. And I think she also has the modern perspective, right?
Yes, yeah.
We weren't afforded the space even a few decades ago to get to be messy and to get to be like this and multifaceted. And even the term Real Housewife, it's really kind of a joke at this point because a lot of these women are not housewives.
They're not even married.
They're not even married. And where are the baby daddies, by the way? A lot of the men actually appear pretty questionable on these shows for their own part. And yeah, I'm so glad about everything you mentioned. These women are very successful. They're making their own money now and partly by doing these shows. And I also think it's definitely what you mentioned about when women are a fan of something, it gets written off by larger media. And it's been like that forever. You go back to the Beatles, even like the hysteria that women would have over it. People would just write the fan off because they are a teenage female fan. And now it's the same thing still. And it's not just women, it's gay men too. And their interests are also written off. I think that's bullshit because, yeah, what's the difference between a Real Housewives New York reunion and the Super Bowl? I'm unclear. Like, to me, that's like the same kind of cultural event, right? So I'm with you. I think Roxanne nails it. I think if we get to let women be their complete fullest selves, that's feminism. That's the whole thing we're rooting for. It's not about whether we like the way they're presenting themselves. Feminism just means we want to see the same thing on the same stage. And that means all of it. Show me all of it. I love it.
100%. 100%. I'm in complete agreement with you.
Yeah, it does mean, by the way, of course, like, yeah, there's elements that are maybe not something you can defend when feminism is on the table.
Of course. Yeah.
But that's okay. I prefer my content a little more complicated and with nuance. I don't need perfect feminism at all times, right?
And I think there's a space to watch these shows and see them as entertainment. And there's also a space, like you can be as a woman, and you and I have talked about this a lot too. We have so many different interests. We can have academic interests. We can have pop culture interests. We can have any type of interest. And that's okay. I personally don't like to feel badly about my interests and my hobbies because someone thinks they're silly. If they bring me joy, I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not endorsing all this behavior. But I think that, it's really easy, like you said before, to just see something as like, oh, women's show and dismiss it. And I don't think we necessarily bring the same critical lens to the same degree all the time when we're talking about sports or other pop culture elements that might be more attractive to men.
Mm-hmm. It's the same way that people used to, well, they still do, but like write off chick lit, right? Like it's a summer read. It's pink on the cover. It's about a romance. We're not going to read it because that's a woman's book. It's like, okay, and like that doesn't mean that it has no inherent value or therefore it's terrible because women read it. And I think we're definitely still stuck inside that. It sucks. It sucks. But I like that we've created our own kind of really beautiful, very female, very gay, very queer community around all of this. Like it's like 100%. We've got our own space. Yeah.
And it's fun. It's a lot of it is fun. And it's also escapism. And I think we all need that.
God, yes, especially these days. Oh, okay. On that big note, we're going to take another quick little break. Enter that contest, guys. Go into the show notes. We will be right back. Okay, we are back. Okay, we're not done talking about the hard parts right now. Okay, guys, so sit down. If you're driving, pull over. One of the tough parts of the franchise that I have struggled with personally is the rampant racism. It's tough, guys, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. We've seen quite a few instances of it. So there's outside of the black casts like Atlanta, like Potomac, anytime a woman of color seems to enter one of the other shows, she's essentially outcast. I don't know how else to describe it. Time and again, the social media discussions are the same. Is this woman being cast out because she's messy, she's a liar, or because she's, I don't know, Asian? I get stuck here because the majority of these women are messy and liars, but those labels tend to get pretty aggressively stamped on East Asian women in particular, actually, which is interesting. So they'll get cast and then they'll get let go by season's end because the rest of their fellow cast tends to kind of isolate them and push them out, definitely bully them. So we've seen it happen on Dallas, on Beverly Hills, on New York, most recently in Orange County with Katie Janela. So you guys probably all saw her this past season, end of the reunion. She's out for the next season, which I was really sad to hear because I thought she brought a lot. She was complicated. She wasn't perfect. She did tell a lot of odd stories and tall tales, but I was entertained. And also it was nice to see someone other than our usual very white and blonde crop. Here's the other thing, and I know a lot of people talk about this on Reddit. Reddit gets going on these subjects, but a lot of the casts are also segregated, which is kind of odd when you think about it. So we've got the white casts, and then we've got the black casts, which I mentioned are Potomac and Atlanta, which is interesting in itself. And mind you, I'm thankful for it because I think it's really great to see a city where there is a majority Black population. We get to see a group of Black women together, talk the way they talk, eat the food they do, sing the music, and dance the way that they do. It's amazing. But I do think it says a lot that we have that, and at the same time, other races get marginalized or tokenized. So as a result, you'll get like microaggressions, which get dismissed as drama, and then racist behavior gets minimized or excused in the name of entertainment or marketing. So for instance, I remember when Crystal Minkoff, who was in a couple recent seasons of Beverly Hills, when she joined Peacock TV, used her to promo AAPI Heritage Month, and then she was like dumped right after. It was terrible. Now, these women of color have no one on their side, typically. So they tend to have little defense or protection, which is tough for me to watch because I've been in those positions before in workplaces and it's never comfortable. It's kind of like they get cast just to be thrown to the wolves. And I don't think we've ever really gotten a proper statement about this from Bravo. I just want these women to have support. I want more for them. Laura, we've talked about this, and I want you to tell me, go deep on this because I know you've noticed the pattern too. What do you make of it?
I think you make excellent points because, first of all, I don't think that Bravo as a brand has handled race well. I think back often to this when the Black Lives Matter movement was really at its height and the Real Housewives of New York cast Ebony K. Williams. And she was expected to educate the all-white cast on race and race relations in America. And the network, almost as a viewer, it looked like the network saw bringing Ebony in as like a solution or a response to what was happening as like a way to fix the cast and their problematic views. But I felt like it was completely unfair to Ebony because she was put in an impossible situation. It was suddenly her job, who has just been put onto the show, making friendships with these women, to educate these rich white women who've been on TV, who have that power, right? They've been longtime housewives, about what it means to be Black in America. And then she had to deal with the pushback. And so I think the microaggressions and lack of diversity has real implications for the cast members of color, particularly the ones that are on primarily white casts. And you mentioned a few off the top: Real Housewives of Orange County, Beverly Hills, Dallas. And I think, part of the reason, and I don't know this for a fact, just as a viewer speculating, part of the reason why Garcelle, who I really liked on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, left recently was because she was probably expected to continue to navigate the women's ignorance a lot. And I'm sure as the only Black housewife for many seasons, now we have both, but before we just had Garcelle, she probably had to deal with a lot even behind the scenes that we didn't see on camera. So I'm sure it just gets to a point where these women are put in these situations. They're not fair. You can see it as a viewer. It's not natural. It's not fair. And to be honest with you, like the ignorance, and we've talked about this before too, Sadaf, like the women, the all-white cast women primarily, them are ignorant. And I think that the show kind of reflects that. So it does depict how rich, tone deaf, these women live in these bubbles. And I think showing sometimes their problematic views on TV holds up a mirror and reflects them to the world. And then the world is like, oh, that's not really great. But these women are so, like, they lack that awareness, right? They're being who they are. And I'm not defending that. I don't think that's right. But I don't think the solution is just bringing in a person of color to change them. But I think one example of casting that has worked, honestly, really well in terms of diversity is Miami. Miami, especially now, has a really multicultural cast. The women all come from different backgrounds, speak different languages. Larsa Pippen is Assyrian, which is my husband's Assyrian. So he's always like, Larsa Pippen, go Larsa Pippen. But, they all have genuine, real friendships. And that, to me, it makes a successful show. It's not about who can we bring in to make this cast look diverse. It's like these women are diverse because they live in a diverse city and they love each other and hate each other, but they get along and they put on one of the best shows of TV. So I'd like to see more of that than just bringing a person in to try to solve the white casting problem,
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up Miami because like another gem of a franchise. It's so good, guys.
So
and
good.
It's not been going on for too long. PS. So if you haven't gotten into it, get into it now. But yeah, you know what it reminds me of as you were talking? I'm gonna make a comparison to James Bond, but like you hear so often people say, cast a female James Bond. And a lot of the women who will be like kind of in the rumored running will say, no, I don't want to be in the running because James Bond is written as a man. This is for men. Give me my own thing. Like, give me Lara Croft. And I think that's kind of this, where it's like, okay, yeah, Beverly Hills, maybe, and all the, or OC, whichever ones. Let's leave those to the white women. Let's maybe come up with, as you said, something like Miami or something like Potomac or Atlanta, where we get to find another city where there is like an Asian community we get to see together. Like one thing I loved was very sadly short-lived, but we had Family Karma, which is not a Real Housewives show, but it was another Bravo reality show. It was phenomenal. I think we only got 2 seasons, but it was a South Asian cast. I think it was in Florida, and it was so great. And the reason it worked so well is because they don't have to do any explaining, right? There's no defending. We don't have to talk about all that stuff. They just have their own lives. And like I said, own culture, own conversations, own politics, and it works. And I think you're right. We can't have a woman coming in to defend her entire politic, like in her entire heritage. It doesn't make sense. And by the way, we've talked about this too. Listen, we are well aware that a lot of Real Housewives have bad politics, okay?
Oh, yeah. Very bad politics. Not defending any of those.
Was it? I can't remember. Was it Ramona who had a photo of her and Trump just sitting in her apartment?
I'm pretty sure she's MAGA. I don't know about the Trump photo, but I do feel like she's very conservative and MAGA. And there's been rumors a lot of the Real Housewives of Orange County women are also MAGA. Don't even get me started on what's her face, Kelly Dodds.
Ooh, God. Well, she's dating a CNN guy or a Fox News guy, I think.
Yeah, well, enough said.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, and some of you are going to experience this when you watch old seasons, but definitely New York, because I just did it. But so many shout outs to Trump, well before, obviously, he was in politics, but it does pave the future. Like, you know what's coming. Diddy also really gets a lot of shout outs, because I guess some of the women were going to his white parties in the Hamptons.
I remember, what was her name? Heather Holla.
Yes.
She like worked for Diddy's clothing company, I think.
Yeah,
if I'm remembering that. And she was really, I mean, she definitely loved to drop her Diddy contacts. Probably not anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like it's lost its moment. But you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny seeing it now. Like back then, I didn't blink an eye. Now I watch, I'm like, whoa. But here's the thing, because I get a lot of friends asking me, how the hell can you watch when you know they're all conservative? Well, here's the thing. These are not people I'm going to for inspiration on how I'm living my life, and definitely not for political inspiration or advice or any of that. That's just not who I'm going to go to. Like, this is a general conversation we've had on the Reheat a lot, but on how whether or not celebrities should even be quote unquote allowed to say anything on politics. And I'm divided because on the one hand, I think it's great. If you've got a big platform, it can make a massive difference when you talk about, for instance, who you're voting. We saw that with Taylor Swift. But it also means you have to have your own media literacy and your own ability to distinguish between who's actually speaking truth to power, who is actually educated and knows what they're talking about. These women are not. They don't know what's going on. They will just randomly shout out Trump for no reason. They're not
100%.
voting.
No, and I think also, too, it kind of comes back to what we talked about earlier. It's like these women are flawed. And I think it's dangerous to hold them to say, this is my role model. I don't think that these women should be seen as role models or like, to your point, we shouldn't turn to them for political advice. Like, I think a lot of this, it is a tricky situation because a lot of them will then share other views on social media, which then come back onto the show, right? So pre-social media, to your earlier point about early Roni days, like there would have been maybe mentions that would hint, but we didn't explicitly know, is Ramona a Trump lover? Like we maybe we think so, but like when you see her posting photos, or you can't turn away from this. So social media, I think, has complicated a lot of this even further.
It's so true. It's so true. Okay, well, one more perennial and pretty much undeniable, increasingly so phenomenon is why the Real Housewives franchise has become a breeding ground for criminal behavior. I know that this is like the biggest story now. It has been for the last couple of years. I'm going to hit you with a few examples. And when I say a few, I really mean a few because there's like a minimum 10 at minimum. Okay, so Teresa, again, who was convicted of bankruptcy fraud and spent 11 months in federal prison. That was actually quite tragic. Then we've got Salt Lake City's Jen Shaw, who many of you have probably heard of recently, but she pleaded guilty to a nationwide telemarketing scheme targeting the elderly. She also served time, recently got out. Then we've got Orange County's Shannon Bedore, who was arrested for a DUI and a hit and run. Dare I say we've got quite a few DUIers on these casts. Then we've got Potomac, and this is the newest. This is the spiciest even, maybe. We've got Potomac's Wendy Osefo, who was recently arrested on criminal fraud charges, including insurance fraud and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. Now, she's doing this with her husband, and part of the reason this is so complicated is this is one of the most educated women and politically forward women we've had on the show. It boggles my mind, Laura, that this is happening.
She's a professor and Eddie is trained as a lawyer, is he not? Yeah. He's a law degree. It's like, what? They're so smart, but then obviously not when you're allegedly doing this. So this is one that's watching in real time as the show's airing right now is very interesting.
I know it is really, and you know, we talked about this, but even in editing, they've been leading up to it. They're showing us, they're going out of their way to show us how much money she spends on everything from like a home renovation to clothes to jewelry. Oh my God. It's bad. Okay, so why does this keep happening? Okay, I think the answer is pretty obvious, honestly. I do think actually that Bravo does background checks. I think anybody pretty much almost always has to do background checks with these kinds of things. But I don't think they think it's a red flag if they find women with some shadiness in their past. I think it's a green flag for them because it's fun to watch, right? Like, here's the thing. Wendy's going through this terrible thing, but I've never been more tuned in to every scene she's in.
We're talking about it a lot.
A lot. Yes, it seems like many of these women are working hard to keep up with the Joneses. That's my theory, that there's a huge pressure to be a real housewife, clearly, and look expensive at the very least. And I think that's what Wendy ran into. I think that's what a lot of these women have run into. Some of them have to resort to fraud, evidently, to pull that off. And I think, let me get real deep here. I think it's like watching the collapse of the American dream, Laura. Is that too big? What do you think?
That's deep. How do I even respond to that?
Well, okay, let me lay it out, because I think here's the thing. We get sucked into this, and I know for a lot of people, they're watching exclusively because they want to see the wealth. But then we see out almost every city, I think we've seen it, and many, many seasons across them, the eventual downturn that comes from that, right? We've seen it with so many of these women. And a lot of them who also end up divorced or abandoned or whatever, they have to climb up from the ashes. They have to make their way. A lot of them are single moms. We're seeing that a lot right now in Beverly Hills, lots of single moms. It's almost always like we signed up for this perfect, the white picket fence, the big house, 10 cars in the driveway, and then it didn't really turn out to be as perfect as it seemed on the outside, which I think is the reality in a lot of ways. But Laura, I want to hear from you. Why the hell are so many of these housewives dirty ass criminals?
Honestly, Sadaf, if I had an answer, I would tell you, I think you hit a lot of the points that I think, you know, a lot of these people chase fame. They chase money. They want to appear more successful and rich than they are. I often think back, it was early Real Housewives of Orange County, and it was post the financial crash. And so many people had lost their jobs. Their homes went into foreclosures. They were over leveraged with debt. They had these mansions they couldn't afford, these cars they couldn't afford. We saw an episode where Lynn Curtin, she was served, I think, a foreclosure notice or some bankruptcy note. Like, there was a serious financial document delivered to her on TV because they ran out of money. And it was sad. It's honestly sad. But I think it does, to your point, like, well, A, it reflects a lot of the reality that these people are facing. And B, it does show the extreme lengths that so many people will go to portray wealth and power, especially when they don't have it. Because I think in a weird way, this show is also about fitting in and appearing like you fit in. And I think that these women, as rich and famous and successful as they are, they're also human and they're desperate to be accepted in the social circles and the society that they orbit. So I think for a lot of them, they would rather commit crimes or lie or steal than live within their means or admit, you know, and embarrass themselves that they don't actually have the cash to fund these bougie lifestyles. And that's one of the most interesting parts. I do think this is the decline of the American dream, but it also speaks to a larger societal issue where so many people are just in debt and they over leverage themselves and they don't make the smartest financial decisions, or they leave it up to their husbands and they don't know anything about their finances. And then things fall, right? And then these women are left to pick up the pieces. And this is a tale as old as time. If you're not being financially independent, this can happen. And so I went on a little bit of a rant here, but I do think that these women sometimes are just so desperate to like fit in and be these things that maybe they're actually not.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I love that. I love that you mentioned, because this is also a really big running theme on a lot of these shows. And again, Beverly Hills right now, but about not leaving everything to your husband and knowing the papers you're signing, having your name on the houses, plural, obviously, just knowing everything that's going on. Mind you, that is a conversation I've had with friends, right? I've had it in group chats, I've had it at the dinner table. Like, this is a running thing that's very real. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people wonder what is actually really relatable about this. In these tear down, broken down ways, this is very relatable. And God, yes, to fitting in. I mean, these are the same women who will bully a woman who comes in, doesn't have all that much to her name. We saw Bethany get bullied a lot in the beginning for this. But then eventually those women end up growing and they build their empire and they see the other women come down and have their moment. It's the same cycle. And it's great to watch because you learn a lot from it, honestly. And it's kind of great to see the underdog kind of grow and then the other person kind of falls from grace and get a taste of that too, right?
100%. And, it does, to your point about being financially independent, like we've seen this across all franchises, like the change in the women's day-to-day reality once they separate from their husbands, whether they don't get the money they thought they were going to get, whether the money's gone, they have to move, they have to take care of kids, they take care of family. Like, what does that really look like? It is part of a larger conversation, but I do think sometimes we see it on such a grand scale when we see it displayed by these women who live such lavish lifestyles.
It's insane. Like, they'll end up having to rent, God forbid. They'll end up having to buy smaller mansions. They got to get a house on the highway.
On a main road?
On a main road. Sorry, on a main road. Oh my God, life is
hard.
tough. It's hard. Okay, to conclude, I mean, it's hard to conclude. We've hit you with a lot of stuff, but Real Housewives is a lot of stuff. But to pull from what Laura said earlier, we love getting to see older women on TV get to have a stage. I mean, that I think is the best part about it. On New York, they would always call each other broads, and I love that. Like, I love a good broad, and I feel like we get to see them here. They get to be messy. They don't have to be perfect. We can see them hustle and survive and fuck up, and I love to see all of that because it's realistic. And yeah, the mess and the wealth make it all shinier, but there's also truth and power in there. Who gets to have money? Who loses it? Who is punished for wanting it? Isn't that fascinating? That, I think, is a timeless theme, and we're always going to be fascinated by it. Beneath the wigs, the wine, the screaming, Real Housewives is honest about a lot of things, okay, guys? And that's things that we are not often honest about in real life. I think it's fun. I'm surprised about how often Real Housewives kicks off conversations about money that I've had with friends that we might never have. There's a lot to it. And like we said, it's an instant calling card among friends and strangers. What could be better? Now, this brings us to our final segment. Hindsight is 2026, where we choose the one moment that we might have handled differently if we were the subject of the story. So, Laura, in this case, the subject is the Real Housewives. Anything in this universe, what would I change? I would love for Mr. Andy Cohen to go the hell away. And I know not everyone agrees with me. I know I'm in the minority. And listen, I loved him a lot in the beginning, but there's something about him that feels a bit like a pimp to me. Like the way he runs and manages these women. And he's, I think, a little bit of a misogynist, and he's got his favorites, he's got his biases. He doesn't call shit out. I've been really struggling with it this past year. We just saw the Salt Lake reunion, and he was giving me a very hard time. But Laura, what would you change if you were a part of this world?
Wow. Honestly, you're don't like our father figure Andy, but I understand why. I understand why. He might need to, it might be time for him to go. But honestly, I would really change the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I would revamp that cast. And I recently actually wrote about this in my newsletter because the older seasons of Beverly Hills were so good. And the cast was real friends. There was substance. And now it's literally a cast. It's women who are hardly friends, maybe loosely friends. They seemingly have not much in common apart from like expensive clothes. And for me as a viewer, I need more substance. I like lifestyle, but I also want substance. So Real Housewives of Beverly Hills needs to be completely redone.
Oh my God, I'm so with you. And I said this to you before, but I want Kyle Richards gone. And I know a lot of you will hate me for that, but it's time.
Could be time.
It's time. It's time.
It's time.
Laura, I think that's the end of this episode. I have had such a damn good time with you. This was so fun. I want to say thank you to all of our amazing, amazing listeners. A reminder, big fat reminder, we'd love for you to join us at our reality rewatch event. Reminder, it's on March 4th. It's at Toronto Second City. If you'd like to win a pair of free tickets, please click that link in the show notes. It's a Google form. It's super easy. Just enter in a few details and the code word. Rewind back if you somehow missed it. Get that code word, punch it in there, and good luck. And as you know, you can listen to more of The Reheat for free on the Seeker app. You can also find the show on the Frequency Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to hear more from me and find out more about our event, you can find me on Instagram at Canada Whore. Laura, where can our listeners find you and how do they read your amazing Real Housewives newsletter?
You know, I laugh every time I tag you on Instagram and I searched it up. Nope, it's Canada Whore. So yeah, it's amazing. Where can you find me? So I would love for everyone to subscribe to my Substack. My Substack name is That's My Opinion. I'm on Substack. Please subscribe. I'm also on Instagram at That's My Opinion Newsletter.
And again, you got to yell it. You got to yell it. I will.
I almost did. I was getting ready.
I will link all of Laura's socials in the show notes so you could easily just click them, go follow her, read her Substack. It's especially fun after you watch the episodes of the week and then dig into it. It's fun. If you liked this episode, please rate, review, subscribe so other listeners can find us too. And you know the drill. If you'd like us to keep going, we'd love for you to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/The Reheat, where we've got some goods in store for you. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Laura, for joining me. We got to have you back.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast. I would be happy to come back anytime.
Yay! Bye, guys.